Dear students, this is a presentation about what you are supposed to do for this project of Units 11 and 12. This is a very important project as it will cover and substitute your first exam, so your grade will depend on it. It will have these two units as its basis, and from them we have separated a couple of topics you have to work on. This is the project. It consists on three parts, each one with its own deadline. There are time for doing that if you start working as soon as you can. Please be work little by little and ask me at any moment you need. You can always send me an email and send me some part of your project that you have started, anything you need. This is the main part for the 1st of May, so around 15 days. Consists on a document of 4 to 8 pages. It doesn't really have a limit, but let's say 4 8 is perfectly sensible, which is the basic research you need to do on that topic. There's a questionnaire about the different topics we will work on for the next week, and finally a reflection you need to write for the following week. These are the topics. I have already randomly selected one topic for each person. There are some topics that of course will be repeated. That's no problem. You can just do it individually. Even if there are two or more people that have the same topic, this will always be an individual work. And actually, trying to copy each other will be an extremely bad idea. You've got in the Isla Virtual a list of all of the members of the class and which topic has each one of them. If you want to change a topic, you can do it if you find someone to exchange this topic with you. So, if you have the topic number 4, Portuguese expeditions, and you want the topic number 9, Carlos I, you can find someone who has this topic and ask him or her to change it. If both of you agree, no problem. Just both of you have to write me an email letting me know, and I will change your topic. But you cannot decide on your own that you want to change one topic. You can exchange it with some person, but both of you need to agree on that. Those are the 15 topics. This is the format of the first part of the project, the document, the writing document, which is around 8 pages, written in Times New Roman number 12 or Arial number 11, either of them, the one you prefer. Line spacing should be of 1.15. The margins need to be justified. Remember that the justified margins are when the lines go up to the end of the page. At both ends of the lines, they are straight. They cover the whole page. And it need to be organized with titles, subtitles for the different parts, and different paragraphs. Please do not write all together in just one block. Please distribute your writing. This will be some sort of the result. These are the justified margins with the lines reach up to the end of the page in both ends. This is Times New Roman number 12, lines separated 1.15, with titles, with different paragraphs, and so on. Remember, the type of font you can change it here. This is for justifying the margins, and this is for line spacing, in order for them not to be too close nor too separated. Your document need to have these contents: an introduction, a body, a conclusion, bibliography, and so on. Introduction is the beginning of the project, of the document. You need to talk about the historical context. What does it mean? For example, if you are talking about the Portuguese exploration, you should talk about how the or why the Europeans start traveling around the coast of Africa, the fall of Constantinople, how the routes to Asia were blocked, and so on. If you want to talk about the conquest of Mexico, you will first need to talk about how Columbus reached America and so on. Briefly, in just one or two paragraphs, this historical context can be perfectly finished. It's just a way to frame your project. Then location in time and space. Everything we are talking about needs a particular time and a particular place to happen. So if you are talking about the empire of Carlos I, you should say which territories and which years does it cover. It's very brief, in just a couple of lines you can end it. And a general explanation. This is uh, literally the introduction of the rest of your document. For example, if you are talking about a new concept, you should define it, a definition. For example, if you are talking about the price revolution, you should you should say, okay, this price revolution is how the historians call to the economical changes that took place in the 16th century due to the gold that arrived to Spain from America, and so on and so on. If you are talking about Philip II, you can start with a brief biography of him, very brief, of course. And you should always provide some data, some basic features. For example, if you are talking about the conquest of the Incas, explaining briefly who the Incas were, for example, or how the Spanish reached that territory in America, and so on. General explanation. So this introduction in 2, 3 paragraphs can perfectly be ended. It could be a little less, or it can be more, but around 2, 3 paragraphs. Then the body is the main part of your project when you have to explain the topic well, you have assigned. And finally, a conclusion. A conclusion is some sort of personal opinion, but I do not want you to say I have liked it very much or I haven't liked it at all. I don't care. What you should say is the importance this topic has, the importance it had in its own time, the importance of the conquest of America, if it had any, the importance of the Catholic monarchs for Spain, if they were important for that time, or in the context, for their countries, for the people living then, etc. Here you don't need to look up for a lot of information, you can just think on yourself. This is very important as well. And the relevance it can have today, if it has any. If it has any. So how does it affect us nowadays? If you have to talk about the Kingdom of Aragon, you should say, okay, these things that happened in the Kingdom of Aragon influenced our world, created the autonomous communities, for example. Or not, you could consider that this period of history has totally ended and do not influence our world at all. But in any case, you need to explain yourself around 1 paragraph. So 1, 2 paragraphs of conclusion, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs of introduction. The rest is the body. Remember, this is 4, 8 pages. If you consider that introduction and conclusion will be 1 page, you have at least 3 pages for the body, which is not too much. Then these things are outside this page count. The bibliography, very important, where you have obtained your information from, which is essential because, of course, your first source should be the book in the class. The first thing you should do is, when you know your topic, go to the book and read carefully the pages that uh, cover that topic and try to take notes of the most important things. But of course, a book our book is unable to provide you information enough to cover 3 pages. So you will need to look up information in other sources. For that reason, you will include this information in the bibliography. In this case, it's not bad to look up information on the internet. Actually, it's good. It's what you are to do. But you have always to cite the the sources you have used. So you can use as many web pages, books, newspapers, magazines, etc. as you want, but you should always say them, indicate them. And of course, in the bibliography, you should always have your book because it's your basic tool of reference. Then an annex. This one is optional, but it can be a good idea. It can have pictures, it can have maps, it can have graphs, any source you consider it could be useful. For example, if you are talking about the Portuguese exploration, it would be a good idea to use a map. Actually, most of your topics could have a map uh, fitting very well here, so I will recommend it. You can use some pictures, but do not choose pictures randomly. On uh, Put them just because you want to put any. Put them because you consider they are important. If not, it doesn't matter. It's not compulsory for you to have lots of things in this annex. It doesn't have a limit of pages. Pages you could uh, have as many one as you want, but you don't need too many. If you include any picture, always say so. Always indicate what picture is it. For example, if you are talking about the Catholic monarchs and you use a painting of Fernando II, said on the foot of the image, this is Fernando II. As simple as that. And then you will write 3 or 4 questions about your work. This is very important because the rest of your classmates will answer one of these questions, the one that I choose. So when all of you have give me the project, I will choose one question from each project, and you need to answer the ones of your classmates. This is the part of the questionnaire that we mentioned previously. These questions need to have some characteristics. It's important that you should answer them in some long answers, not just a couple of words. I don't want you to ask which year Isabel the First was born. That's not the kind of question I'm looking for. I'm looking for the kind of question that I could ask you. So some a bit longer, the ones that could be answered in 2, 3 lines. That could be the kind of questions. They do not need to be very difficult nor very easy. They need to be important. That's the essential part. You need to think of questions that, for them to be answered, means that the person that is answering them has read and understand your project. That's very important. It will be like an exam on your project, and of course the answer need to be on the document you have written. You cannot ask, for example, why did the forces of Francisco Pizarro could defeat the Inca Empire if you haven't said the reason for that in your project? So they need to be questions that you have already answered in your document. That will be, of course, any doubt, any question, any problem you could have, you can always ask me. Finally, the references. This is of how quoting the the documents you are consulting in order to write your your document. We have already practiced that, so this is just a brief review. For citing a website, for example, here, remember you can use these quotation marks if you are taking some sentence literally, but it's not necessarily. In most of cases, it's better for you to write the same information with your own words and then put at the end, between brackets, where you have obtained this information from. This is very important. This is very, very, very important because you will use information that you haven't made up. You haven't invented that information. Some of it you will find it in your book. Some of it you will find it in other sources, and that's okay. It is actually what you have to do. Do not fear to look up as many sources as you want, but always say so. Between brackets, where you have obtained your information. But of course, if, like in this case, you have obtained the information from a website, you won't give all of the information of that website in between the text, because that will be absolutely chaotic. There will be no option to write more. Always be full of lots of information and so on. So while you are writing your project, this is your document, and when you quote some new information, you put between brackets where you have obtained it. And then at the end of your project, in the bibliography, you will put all the information of that website, which is name of the author, title, name of the website, link, and where you view that website, because remember, on the internet things can change a lot, so it's important for you to reference the date you check it. This is how to cite a website: the author, title, name of the site, the link, view on day, month, year, and this is an example. This is what will be at the end of your document in the bibliography. Many websites do not have the name of the author or a title of the article on them. So in that case, no problem, do not put them. But all of the websites in the internet have some kind of name. So please put that name and put that link and when you have checked it. So these two parts aren't essential because some websites do not include it, but the name, link, and date always should be provided. If you want to obtain your information from a book, newspaper, magazine, some other source, it could be also an online book, of course. You can provide your information, put the last name of the author, the year of that book, the year of the that year book was published, and the page, if you know which specific page you have obtained your information from. This is on your document, in between your text. It's a very, very brief part of information that can fit perfectly in between the things you are writing. And then at the end of the document, on the bibliography, you will put last name of the author, first name, year, title in italics, these kind of letters in italics, and the publisher of the book. So last name, the first name, normally just the first letter. The year, the title in italics, and the publisher. This at the end of the document. So when we are writing, the result will be something like this. You are well, organizing your document with titles and subtitles. This is a part of a final work in speech therapy, but it is useful for us as well. They are writing information, and then okay, this information has been obtained from one book. So it said the last name of the author, et al. Et al means and the others. This is just when there are more than one author. You put just the first one and then et al. The last name and the year. Then more information, more information, more information. Then this is not a last name because it doesn't have an author, but it's from an association. So the name of the association and the year. Then more and more and more and more information. Last name, year, because from this book from Fernandez, all of this information has been obtained. From this book from Carneado Ruiz, all of this information has been obtained. Then this information is from Seijo, 1998. And then more information from this. So this should be the final aspect of your document. All of your information and where you have obtained it from. Of course, this is a final project for a degree. You do not need to have as many sources as this. It will be impossible. You need to write just a couple of pages, so you do not need as many of them. But as you will always check in some other sources, please reference them. And then at the end of the document, you will have your bibliography with all of the sources ordered alphabetically by the name of the author, or if they were a website and do not have an author, the name of the website. You can see the authors. These one are magazines, so the system is a little bit different. Last names, year, the title in italics. In this case, the city has always been included. I do not need that, but you can. And the publisher. This is the aspect your bibliography should have. Of course, you do not need a lot of books or a lot of websites, but you need any of them. Finally, this is the regulation of Alcalá de Henares as a way to remember that plagiarism is a very serious thing. That, for example, it will lead to automatically fail the, the subject. In this case, I will not fail your subject if you copy your whole project, but I will fail your project, which is a very important part of your grade. So please do not do that. Most of you will have individual topics, so I hope there won't be temptation of copying them. But even if you have the same topic that one of your classmates, please do an individual work, because you will always have a better result if you work for yourself than if you just copy the work from other person. It will be always better. And if I realize that it has been copied, and it's quite easy to realize, you will fail. Both of you will fail. So I don't think this is necessary, but just in case, I will say this is your project. I will open an online season for you to ask me doubts if you have any. And of course, you can always write me an email or by the aula virtual or however you want. Please start this project as soon as you can so it won't be too much work for the last days. Thank you for all of your work, and if you have any question, please ask me.